everybody? I'm here for another episode of Cosplay Bites, the show all about cosplay conventions and all the nerdy bits and bytes and all that good stuff. So, for this episode, I have the lovely Allie and Evie of
Hope and Feathers Cosplay.
Hope and Feathers Cosplay. Yep, that's right. How are you girls doing?
Doing pretty good.
Good. So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting episode, but before we get into that, just a couple of housekeeping stuff. Cosplay Bites is the podcasting show that's available on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, and Spotify. If you guys want to rate and review the show, that would help me out a lot in possibly getting me more sponsorships or more interesting opportunities and whatnot. So, yeah, and currently over on my blog, The Lightning Palace, you can check out cosplay features and write-ups on outfits such as we got NG Knight's Aqua from Kingdom Hearts, official Goth Barbies, Atlantic All-Star Skinned Mercy, Mina Starks as Starfire, Kate Sarkisian's Bakugo, and a whole bunch of other girls that I got lined up so far. And also, just a quick shout out to my Patreon supporters. I got Coralia Jade, Kat Yuska Moonfox, Mink the Satyr, Nicole Marie Jean, Noah, Oh My Sophie, and Shaylin. And yeah, so that's all the housekeeping stuff. So let's get into this. This is going to be an interesting one. So on Facebook, there's this giant group that's for a bunch of photographers and cosplayers and whatnot. So I thought, why not post a link to my show, maybe get some more interesting topics and guests, and that's where Allie and Evie came in. So
Hello.
yeah, so we're gonna talk about what they suggested, and that's honestly it's an interesting one. But cosplaying when you have a disability. So probably, if you think about those two things, probably some of the first things that come to mind are, if you have a wheelchair, and so, people are thinking like, oh, well, that's a good way to like cosplay Professor X from X-Men, like an almost too common thing. So, is that true?
Oh no, absolutely. I actually have had a complete ban on myself. I'm not allowed to cosplay Professor X, just because I want to do more interesting things. However, the Dark Phoenix movie, I really liked it, and it is testing me.
Oh boy. So yeah, both of you girls have done other cosplays. I took a look at your Instagram page before we started this, and you've done Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, and then other characters. I probably don't know who they are. If they're from anime, that's probably why.
Yeah. So Homura and Madoka, those are from anime. We've done. We just did Wally and Eve from the Disney movie. That one was really fun because she actually built Wally's robot body over my wheelchair.
That was really fun. It was my first really big build over her chair, and I'm really happy with how it came out. It was I kind of just winged it the entire time. We read a lot of things about how certain people used foam and things like that to make a kind of lap table, so that it could be taken off if you really needed it to get off, and so that it was also light, so it didn't add too much weight to the chair, but then it also looked good. And then I just kind of went with that.
Right.
And then also going with the environmental themes of the Disney movie, Wally is actually made of, 90% recycled materials. So actually the foam that we use was packing materials from some of my medical supplies.
Oh, wow. That's clever.
Yeah. It was just a really fun challenge to get to do. And I hope we get to do bigger and more advanced things.
Diva's Mech.
Yes, that's
like the goal.
Oh, boy. All right, so why don't we get into this? So I'll let you two take over for a little bit. So talk to me about just the disability and like how cosplay has affected it, or like how you've been able to like merge the two together, so to speak.
Absolutely. So actually, I started cosplaying right about the time that my disability became symptomatic. So I have a genetic condition, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I've always had it. I can look back at my childhood pictures and go, that is not normal, but no one really noticed until my 21st birthday when all of a sudden I could not walk. So I fall a lot. And it was a very sudden, what do I do with my body? At the same time, I was working with a friend who's been doing cosplay since they were, I think, 12 and was running a mini convention at our college. So I got involved with that. So when I took a leave of absence from school, I really started to go, what am I going to do with my time? And that's when I did my first cosplays. I did Pearl from Steven Universe, and she has like a staff that I built out of PVC pipe to make it into a weight bearing cane. So I had a 6 foot tall cane. That was pretty fun. And that was kind of when I realized I was definitely using cosplay a lot to kind of explore and figure out and come to terms with my body that wasn't behaving in the ways that I was used to it, and figuring out kind of how to work with that. And that's definitely kind of where it started and how I really started to love it. And then I now use a cane, a wheelchair, arm crutches, or nothing, depending. So that gives me a lot of freedom in what I'm going to use, what supports I'm going to need for the length of the event,
Right.
or if it's just a photo shoot, I can kind of figure out what I want to do.
As for me, I've been doing theater my whole life. I've always been really interested in the technical aspect of theater, specifically in costume construction. I have a really, really, really severe allergy to marijuana. If I inhale it, I will go into anaphylaxis and wind up in the hospital.
Ugh.
So most of the time when I'm out of the house, I have to wear this mask over my face, and that really kind of knocked me off the idea of ever being able to act or do anything like cosplay, because you can only ever see half of my face most of the time. Right now, obviously, I'm in my house, so I'm not wearing it, but it felt like it limited me a lot, and I didn't realize that I had options like that until I met Allie, and she, wasn't going to let that other stuff stop her, and I realized, hey, I'm letting this stop me, and I might as well stop that and have fun. And even on times when like there is no option for me to take off my mask and I have to wear it, and I know it clashes with the character, I still, everything else is there, and I still get to put the same work into it and the same love for the character. And there are a surprising number of characters I can work the mask into anyway.
That's true. Yeah.
So I'm really honored to have met her and gotten the chance to realize, hey, that can't stop me if I don't let it.
And then from that, we realized kind of this is something that might be stopping a lot of people, or like, I know there are a lot of people who don't feel comfortable whether or not they're using something like a wheelchair, like a cane, like hearing aids, or a service dog, or honestly, even down to glasses, and kind of showing, hey, this is one, how you can work it into your costume, and two, how you can feel good about your costume, even if it's just kind of there as part of you, because it's really just another part of any body type can cosplay.
Right, yeah.
There's kind of blends into that. So we did a panel on kind of talking about, at a recent convention in Albuquerque, about how you can plan a costume around different disabilities, going into mobility aids, going into latex-free makeup.
Which is my thing. I love latex-free makeup. I'm not allergic to latex, but she is, and I've gotten a lot of really fun opportunities to try latex-free prosthetics, and I just really enjoy being able to offer that to people who are allergic to latex and think, oh, I can never do prosthetics, or I can never do anything really cool like that. And that's so not true. There are so many cool latex-free options. So that's one of my favorite things.
Scar wax is the one we did most recently, right?
Yeah, I did a scar wax prosthetic when she did White Pearl from Steven Universe, and White Pearl only has one eye. The other one is kind of all cracked up and gone looking. So I did this really cool prosthetic. I'm really happy with it, out of scar wax, and it was completely latex free, and I think it looked really awesome.
Good. So, do you think the cosplay community has gotten more accepting for people with disabilities?
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
I haven't really been in the community for very long, but I've never really run into any problems. Most of the cons that I've been to have been really accessible. The big ones always have like the ADA line, which is super nice for people who can't wait in line for very long. Especially for me, because if I'm standing out in the middle of a bunch of people and one person walks by with some marijuana on them, I'm out for the rest of the day. So I think that cons in general, and this might not be true for everyone, but in my experience have been really accessible, really accommodating, and some of the people, not just the people who run the con, but other cosplayers are always really excited to see people, especially people who this might be their first time trying out cosplay, with new mobility aids or other assistive devices. I think most of the time people just seem really excited to see that stuff.
And like I remember the first convention I ever went to was WonderCon, I think in 2016. I saw other people doing it already. I saw this really cool person who had built the Starship Enterprise onto her walker, and another person who had who like some people have some great steampunk wheelchairs, and like it's definitely a thing that's out there and around, but I see it a lot more at conventions than I do like kind of passed around in more of a digital community. So I definitely think that while it's very much there, it's harder for people to know where to get started. And then it's also the other thing I've noticed is it's harder for people to know whether or not it's okay to approach a cosplayer because, you know, the whole, well, you don't stare at someone in a wheelchair, that kind of is the same as really don't stare at someone. And both of those rules kind of change once you add cosplay into the mix, and I think that's definitely an area that people don't really know how to approach. Like, can I go up and talk about this person's costume with them when I know it's rude to stare at somebody using a wheelchair?
Yeah, that would be a difficult thing to handle
Yeah.
because you don't want to accidentally offend the person that is disabled and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, we've never, I don't think I've ever seen anyone be offended, but it's definitely something that people are worried about. And it's something I worry about too. Like, there's this lady that we met, who had a motorized scooter, and she was dressed up as Nurse Joy and had this whole thing around her that had all these stuffed Pokemon on it, and her scooter, it looked like a Pokemon center with all these stuffed Pokemon on it, and it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And we saw her at probably 4 cons before I finally worked up the nerve to go talk to her about it. And you know, she was so excited that someone else was interested and wanted to tell me all about how she made it. And it's just getting over that fear, because I think a lot of people, pretty much everybody who does cosplay, is happy to talk about it. So you just gotta, you know, be open about it. And if they say, "Hey, I'm not comfortable talking about this,"
like that's one thing.
That's one thing. But
there's really no problem with just honestly acting like it's any other cosplayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's not super different from asking, "Hey, how'd you build that shield?" "Hey, how'd you build that thing that goes over the top of your scooter?"
Right.
And I mean, that was definitely hard for me to work out. I had to see this lady at 4 different events before I could finally talk to her.
Yeah. So you guys, do you tend to cosplay from like anime more, or video games, or comic books, or like what's your favorite medium?
We're pretty mixed.
Yeah, but definitely a mix. We've done Supergirl and Wonder Woman, Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn. Honestly, I think we probably. Oh, we also did the Captain America and Bucky.
Oh yeah, we did those, the closet ones.
So I think not as many superheroes, but pretty much everything else. Like, we do steampunk, some weird fantasy designs. Recently, we've been doing a lot of anime, but I think it's just because we have gotten really interested in our local anime convention. It's just such a welcoming environment that it's like, well, let's do stuff specifically to bring there.
Yeah, and then when I first got into cosplay, there was only a couple of characters I ever thought I'd like enough to cosplay, and most of them were from anime. So, you know, that's kind of where my interest started. And then I was never big into comics or superheroes until I met her. And then I found out, hey, these are really fun costumes to make too.
Oh, upcoming we have the Carolina, Jean, and Nico from Marvel's Runaways.
Oh,
so there's
yeah,
another.
that's gonna be fun.
So definitely.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that one's gonna be fun. And then there's also I'd like to. This one is way in the future, but there's a character. Togo Memori from Yuna Yuki is a Hero is actually a magical girl in an anime who uses a wheelchair and doesn't magically gain the ability to walk once she transforms. She actually has like these ribbons that move her around, which is really cool. And so I think that'd be really fun to play with.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to put some more intense building into that one, and that's not a during the school year project.
No, that is a summer only thing.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can't tell, anime is not my strong suit, so
Yeah, it's all right.
yeah. Whenever people just say anime character name from shows, I just smile and nod like, yes, okay, I know what
And
that is.
my current dream cosplay is Erebos from the Dragon Prince, just because I want to cover myself in glitter and walk around in a cloak. But we're waiting until season 3 comes out to see if there's anyone that she could cosplay with me for that. Because
he doesn't really interact with a lot of
except
people.
for Viren, and you don't want to cosplay Viren.
No, I don't want to cosplay Viren. I have a very specific, like, I will cosplay. I prefer to cosplay characters that I connect with, and I'm not necessarily going to want to cosplay the disabled character. So that's a character who does use a cane, and I use a cane, but there isn't that more like emotional connection. So I'm not really interested. I guess the same with Professor X is I've never had that emotional connection, and it's just been a hey, you should do this, and I'm just like, eh.
Also, Viren's
It's overdone.
a person, so I don't blame you for not wanting to cosplay Viren. So we're waiting until season 3 comes out to see if he talks to literally anyone else.
Right. Okay. Anything else you guys wanted to add about disability and cosplay, or
just I guess be willing and open to try things. Know that there is a lot of resources out there. And I guess be creative. So one of my favorite things is making things that are not canes into something weight bearing. So anything that is a staff weapon, we're gonna do Nico's staff of 1, and then I'm gonna do Carolina, but I'm gonna be carrying the staff, and we're gonna make that weight bearing. We've done a keyblade that was weight bearing, and just by using kind of a stronger PVC and then decorating off of that and throwing a cane tip on it, it works great. So think of things that aren't necessarily other things that I want to do with my wheelchair are Diva's mech and the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones.
Ooh.
So yeah, that's gonna be fun.
We're waiting until my foam sculpting skills get a little bit better, because we want that one to be good, especially since that's like been your dream cosplay from the very beginning.
There's also the fact that her dress, that I want to do it with Sansa Stark, and her dress is going to take at least 20 yards of fabric.
Okay,
yeah. So I guess don't be afraid to try things. Please be innovative, and
don't feel limited.
Yeah, but you will mess up, and there will be things that you'll try and just will not work. The build that we have on Wally is actually my second attempt.
The first one would not stay on.
The first one totally failed. So things will fail. There will be materials wasted, but not really wasted because you're learning stuff. And just don't give up if one thing doesn't work. You will find a way. If there is a will, there's a way. And all the disabled people I know are extremely stubborn. So I do not doubt that if you are determined to make this work, you will make it work.
And then on the other side, I guess if you see someone and you think, oh, that might be a disabled cosplayer, don't really worry about it, I guess. Just kind of be willing to, if you would go up to any other person, don't do it differently. Don't change how you would normally act. It's not necessary. And don't pet service dogs.
Don't touch them.
Even if they're in like a great costume. I have my service dog. I'll normally have at conventions, and I can't put costumes on her, but I know a lot of people who do. Like Cosplay Corgi is one who does a really good job.
Corgi cosplay.
But her Instagram username is cosplay Corgi,
Oh.
and then her
Guess who's
name is
dyslexic?
So she does really great costumes on her actual service dog. What I'll do is I'll do like matching patches. So I had a Kingdom Hearts. We did Namine and Shion, and I did a patch that said I'm her service dog, I'm her power. And then for our Wally and Eve, she has one that says foreign contaminant service dog. So there's a lot of fun to be had there. But on the opposite of feel free to approach a disabled cosplayer, don't feel free to approach a cosplaying service dog because they look great and they're still doing their job.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, well, so how about, what was your last convention that you both were at?
That was we went to San Diego Comic-Con.
We went to 2 days.
Ooh, how was that?
It was
a
crazy.
lot.
It was very fun, but
hugely overwhelming.
Biggest convention we've ever gone to, and I think we're gonna wait a few years before trying that one again.
Yeah. It was a lot of people, and it was the biggest convention I've ever been to. It was very overwhelming, but I really enjoyed it. We got to go to the Dragon Prince panel, and that was awesome. We met some really wonderful people. Turns out at these really huge conventions, when they see someone who's using like a mobility aid or something, they'll come up to you and say, "Are you the ADA?" And the ADA stands for Americans with Disabilities Act, and it's like 8:00 in the morning, and I've been awake since 6. And there's this person asking me if I'm a law, and I'm like, I guess.
But what they were trying to figure out is if we needed to be in the ADA line, and that's when we figured out that that was something to look for. So definitely ask when you get to a convention and you check in at the disability services desk. It's not just enough to get checked in. You also need to ask what the accommodations are.
Because they just gave us our little stickers and was like, okay, have fun. And then, I have someone asking me if I'm the ADA, and I'm like, no, I am not the ADA.
But it was huge. It was awesome. Oh, we also did the Dark Crystal booth. That was fun.
Yeah, and then we saw the Steven Universe karaoke.
And the Steven Universe karaoke, they actually had a wheelchair lift to get up onto the stage so that anyone could do the karaoke.
Because we didn't even get in line. We assumed, she wouldn't be able to get up to the stage because there were stairs. And then walking past, this guy was like, "Oh yeah, no, we have a lift." And I was like, "Whoa, what? You have a lift?"
So it was great, super accessible, tons of people. It felt like 3 weeks worth of convention crammed into 2 days, and it was enough fun to last a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd be able to handle New York Comic-Con then.
Probably
not.
Highly that.
That's my big convention every year, so I'm really looking forward to that one.
Maybe like once every 5 years I could do San Diego.
Yeah, I'd love to experience.
Yeah, because New York is a little bigger, right?
I don't know if it's been consecutive, but I have seen that it's beaten San Diego in attendance.
Yeah.
So,
which doesn't surprise me. I mean, that's where probably the biggest cosplay communities are.
Right.
In California, New York.
Yeah, I'd love to experience San Diego at least once in my lifetime.
It's definitely
worth it.
Definitely worth doing at least once.
Yeah. Right. Any upcoming conventions you're looking forward to for the rest of 2019?
Yeah, we have a local science fiction convention in Albuquerque, Bubonacon.
That was my first convention. Bubonacon is amazing.
Yeah, it's very small. The creator to fan ratio is super high.
Pretty equal.
It's very equal. So that's really cool.
There are a lot of authors there. A lot of a really surprising number of older people, like parents and grandparents generations. So it's really cool to get to know these people who have been hardcore, really heavy science fiction fans since science fiction began.
Right.
And it's really, really cool to get to see, and also people who have been sewing their entire lives, who have like 50, 60 years of sewing experience, and can really make these amazing, amazing things. My very first time there, I saw this couple who was cosplaying Elrond and Celebrian from Lord of the Rings.
Okay, yeah.
And I just like followed them around the convention, drooling. And finally, I worked up the nerve to ask, "Hey, did you make this?" And they're like, "Oh yeah." And the lady was like, "Oh yeah, it took like 2 weeks." And I was like, "What? This looks like a year's worth of embroidery."
Plus all of the it's really fun to do more of the steampunk and original designs. So that's one of the things. I think the first time I went there, I did a 1950s retrofuturism Poison Ivy, and that one was really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
always
it's a very small con.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I always get a kick out of wearing my steampunk Nightwing from DC Comics.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's always interesting because I mean, I would do the his new 52 red outfit, which not many people do because they just think of his classic blue. Which I mean, I like his classic blue; it's my favorite color. But I mean, red's something you don't see every so often. So
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn is that they're so recognizable just from body paint and hairstyles that we can put them into all of these different situations and kind of have all of those variants and still have them be recognizable cosplays.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So when you make your outfits, do you typically have a favorite format or like material to work with? Like, do you prefer sewing or do you prefer like working with like Warbler or like armor work or stuff like that?
So my background is in competitive sewing. I did competitive sewing as a child from I think, 6th grade until I graduated. So that's definitely something I'm very comfortable with, and cosplay is really a way to take those skills in a much more relaxed and fun sort of an atmosphere. So I really
Competitive
enjoyed that.
sewing?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
So she knows the technical right way to do literally everything.
Not everything.
Literally everything.
But it's really fun kind of experimenting with shortcuts and, hey, I can make this work. I think lately what I've been doing this year has been the year of making my own bias tape. I've probably made 100 yards of bias tape.
At least.
At least.
And then the funny thing is I come from the exact opposite direction of that, is that I've done theater my whole life, and in theater is it doesn't matter how you do it as long as it looks good. And so when we first met, we have completely opposite sewing backgrounds. Is that I can turn 1 yard of fabric into 2 yards to make a pattern out of it if I need to, but I have literally no idea how to make bias tape. Tell me to do French seams, and I have no idea what you're talking about.
Drafting.
But if you hand me the pattern and this amount of fabric and say make this, I can get it done regardless, and it'll look pretty good. It's just that I don't know any of the technical terms or anything. So when we first met, we realized, hey, between our two extremely different backgrounds in sewing, we can do pretty much anything.
And the first time we put that to a test, I had waited until the last minute. We had just started dating, and I was getting ready to go out to WonderCon with my siblings, and I hadn't finished. I was doing a dress from a webcomic, and it was a full white dress covered in fake flowers, and we were able to get it from a draft to a try-onable dress, so not embellished, but we were able to start drafting and then have it constructed in 2 hours.
Whew.
And then that was when we realized, hey,
we work really well together.
That's some turnaround.
And yeah, and then we got it completely finished, and it looked awesome. It was so much fun. And then getting to see all the pictures of you at WonderCon, and I was like, I really think that I might give this a shot.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely sewing is where we're most comfortable.
And I'm learning foam carving right now. I also have a background in jewelry making and metalworking. And that's always just kind of been a hobby, but I've really enjoyed getting to incorporate that into cosplay lately. And then I've taken some of my sculpting, like with clay and stuff, experience, and taken that into foam carving, which has been really fun. I made her keyblade. All the embellishments were carved out of foam. And I'm not super confident in that yet, but I'm really enjoying learning about it. And we're really hoping to try some foam armor soon. We haven't decided on exactly what we're gonna do with that, but
It's just
we really want
on
to
the
try that.
list.
On the list.
Yeah.
You
Need
keep
to find a
mentioning.
character.
Yeah. You kept mentioning Keyblade. That got my interest. Which Keyblade did you make?
It is a fake Keyblade. We made Kyrie's Keyblade, but in black and white for
Oh.
Nominee.
Okay.
That was fun. And then I don't remember what you said the charm on it originally was, 'cause I don't know anything about Kingdom Hearts.
So instead of the star charm that she normally has, we did a crayon, since Nominee is using a lot of
Right.
that's kind of her motif. And then we decided to stick with the kind of black and white, and we still wanted to paint more on that.
Yeah.
But we were sticking with kind of the black and white, since she is kind of a grayscale copy of Kyrie.
Right. Okay. Well, if there's nothing else that you girls want to talk about, I guess we could wrap up. Any last minute thoughts you guys have, or convention characters, anything cosplay related you wanted to?
Not that I can think of. Just enjoy yourself and don't be scared.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing the Adora's princess prom dress from the new She-Ra show.
Oh,
and that
yeah.
was the first time, because we've competed before and we've won like smaller awards before, but never they've all kind of been at one convention. So this was the first one at a different convention where we won a Judge's Choice Award, and that was really fun. I guess the other thing connected to that is that when we do compete in something, we generally do choreography that is not something you would associate with a disabled cosplayer. So I've actually had issues before where, not at that convention, at a different one, where we did our lingerie Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn, and I had a judge get very upset with me because I'd used a wheelchair all day, and then I walked across the stage and kind of danced across the stage, and she was just furious that I've been using a wheelchair when I obviously didn't need it. And so just kind of what you see someone do in a cosplayer convention setting is something that, like, I personally especially save up for weeks. So I will, like, skip out on a lot of things. I'll take extra doctor's appointments, stuff like that, so that I can do these things. And it's really nice to be able to see what I can do when I in pushing my limits, sort of a thing. So we actually had a moment in our Katra and Adora choreography where I lifted her in the air, and it was really cool that we were able to do that without kind of being challenged, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it is something I'm capable of doing once every 6 months, very carefully, under physical therapist supervision and all of that. But definitely, I guess if you have similar limitations and you're considering something like that, definitely check in with a physical therapist.
Work with a doctor or somebody if you, because again, don't be scared and let it hold you back if you want to try dancing or something for a performance. Just make sure that you're going about it safely, and most physical therapists are really excited and happy to work with you. If you have mobility limitations or strength limitations, just go and say, hey, this is the thing I want to do, and how can we make this happen? So do it, but do it safely.
And if you see, and conversely, if you see someone doing it, don't assume that it's because they're using things they don't need. Assume, hey, that's really cool that you can do that, even though you have these issues.
And don't infantilize a disabled cosplayer and assume that they can't do this thing that they say they're going to do, or that they obviously couldn't have done it safely, or that that they're not, that they didn't make their own stuff or anything like that. Because just kind of always assume competence with pretty much everybody, but especially with anyone who might be visibly disabled. Just walking up to someone and saying, "Oh, who made your wheelchair build or whatever," just don't assume that it wasn't them because they're incapable of making things.
Yeah.
And I haven't really had that much of a problem, but I know that that's a problem in a lot of visibly disabled people's day-to-day lives, is getting really badly infantilized and people assuming that they're incapable of doing things. I don't know. Have we run into stuff like that at cons before?
Not so much. Just no, that hasn't really.
Yeah, that's more a day-to-day life thing.
That's
but
good. That's good.
recommendation, don't do that.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess we could wrap up. So,
Awesome.
yeah, thank you girls so much for joining me. If you guys want to follow Allie and Evie, just check out their Instagram page, Hope and Feathers Cosplay. And then you can follow my blog, Lightning Palace, along with my Patreon. It's free to view, but if you pledge, I can send you stickers that I got commissioned. So those are always fun. And one thing I want to say that I want to try out that if anyone who's listening has a topic idea that they want me to discuss, so that I can try to either branch out into getting more guests or branch out more into doing solo episodes by myself. If you want to send me cosplay topics to talk about, just send me an email. I think it's linked somewhere in all of my social medias. If you go to my blog, you'll find it. So just wanted to throw that out there and see what happens. So yeah, thank you girls so much, and thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you for having us.
No
Bye.
problem.